Om Shri Krishnaya Namah, Om Shri Raghavendraya Namah. As we have seen in the previous episode, Shri Guru Raghavendra Swamy was a person who interacted, blessed, graced, regardless of who came to him from where, from which section of society or which strata of society. In this episode of today, of now, it is a pleasure to share something which most people would probably be familiar with. Most people have probably heard of droughts and famines across the world. One such severe drought and famine prevailed in the then kingdom of Tanjore. The king of Tanjore spent all the money that he had from his coffers, all the wealth that he could muster up in trying to help his people overcome the severity of the drought and the famine that raged across his land, his kingdom. Unfortunately, there is only so much that you can have, even the royal treasury. So the king approached Guru Raghavendra Swamy and requested him with folded hands for his kind indulgence on the welfare of his people, and requested him to come and stay in Tanjore and offer his prayers there for the kingdom, for the people. Guru Raghavendra Swamy, the eternal, kind, noble soul that he ever was, readily consented to this and went across to Tanjore. He stayed in the king's palace for 12 years, rendering his prayers and his japas, chants, meditations. At the end of these 12 years, thanks to the divine intervention accorded by the fervent prayers and pleas of Guru Raghavendra Swamy, this drought and famine that had ravaged the land came to an end, and the then memories of that famine and drought were wiped out, and from then on till today, there never has ever been any such kind of a drought or famine there. The time came for Guru Raghavendra Swamy to take leave from Tanjore, from the king, and go back to his matha in Kumbakonam. So, the king decided to give him a very costly, very expensive gift, which he felt would probably meet the kind of services as payment for the kind of services rendered by Guru Raghavendra Swamy. Little did the king realize that he is a man from the material world and is interacting with this sannyasi of the highest order who is already in the spiritual world. So he fashioned a diamond necklace of the most exquisite taste and order, took it and gave it to Guru Raghavendra Swamy when he was performing his morning yajna. Guru Raghavendra Swamy very kindly, very smilingly, very lovingly received it with one hand and promptly put it into the yajna. The king was aghast at this. I've given this saint such a beautiful diamond necklace which costed me so much, probably millions of rupees in today's currency, counting today's values for the money. And the saint has just dropped it into the fire. Guru Raghavendra Swamy, the divine soul that he was, immediately saw the change of expression on the king's face. realized and recognized what it meant, promptly changed, put his hand into the fire, prayed to God Agni, Goddess Agni, God Agni of fire, or the fire god called God Agni, and a hand comes out from the fire with a necklace more beautiful and more brilliant than what was put inside and given to Guru Raghavendra Swamy, who in turn gives it to the king and says, please take this. You were aghast at what you gave me and I put it into the fire, but understand that a sannyasi like me has no use for such things. I am giving you something probably little better than what you gave. Keep it with you. It is for your use. You will benefit out of it. I have no taste. I have no use for this. This very clearly shows that regardless of who was there, he took what they were willing to give and he gave back more than what they wanted or what they sought. This is such a beautiful example to tell people in today's times that don't count what you have received, just as you should not count what you are giving back. If you can give more than what you received and give it with such a big heart and a kind smile and a warmness in you that the other person doesn't feel grateful but feels so endeared, so welcome, so loving to you that the person just wants to take you into his self and thank you for all that you have been. Such people are very rare in today's world. Such kind of feelings very rarely come across in today's world, are very rarely felt even and experienced even by today's people in today's world. If you ever come across such a person, just don't ignore the person. Be grateful that divine intervention has played in your life and brought such a person to you. Make the maximum use of it by welcoming the person, honoring the person, and being grateful to the person for having come and touched your life in his or her own way. We have been talking about examples from within the country. In our almost second episode, if one can recall, I did touch upon the example of Sir Thomas Munro, the earlier East India clerk who later on became the first Governor General of British India, Company, and then continued to serve land. A little about him to refresh the memories of people is this. Being a foreigner, when Thomas Munro approached the Vrindavan, he took off his shoes, went near the Vrindavan, and started talking with Guru Raghavendra Swamy, who promptly manifested himself outside the Vrindavan and speaking with him and interacting with him in flawless, impeccable British English. A wonder of wonders, the people standing there could not even realize or understand what was going on. They only saw Thomas Munro talking, but they could not hear anything. Such was the divine power and grace that prevailed. And when Thomas Munro received the consecrated rice from Guru Raghavendra Swamy in his palm, and he retraced his steps from there and asked the people whether they saw him talking with the Guru. The people replying in the negative said, no, we are not so fortunate as you are. In fact, you are so fortunate. The fact lies in that, proof is in that you have received the consecrated rice directly from the Guru itself, which is a miracle which hardly anybody has experienced. And you are one of the blessed ones. Such a person who later on rescinded the orders of taking over of the land by the British India Company and rose to become the Governor General of the company, of British East India Company, in fact. Such a person's relatives even today with all due respect and reverence for Guru Raghavendra Swamy and his works and interaction with Sir Thomas Munro in his time, come down every year at the time of the Aradhana to Mantralayam and pay their respects to the Vrindavan, at the Vrindavan of Guru Raghavendra Swamy. Mind you, traditionally dressed in complete Indian ethnic wear as sari and blouse and all, with the same amount of regard and respect that one would expect or one would have coming from another Indian lady. It just goes to show, illustrate or demonstrate for one and all that in humility lies the answer for seeking the benevolence of the wise and the great souls that have walked this earth. They have accepted, they have realized, and they recognize the fact that the incident which took place in Sir Thomas Munro's lifetime in his interaction with Guru Raghavendra Swamy was not a mere flake, a passing wind that just came and went, but it was an impactful incident that changed the life, the course and the future of not just Sir Thomas Munro, but of generations that succeeded him in his family. Such is the fact, such is the power, such the prowess of Guru Raghavendra Swamy, which he ensured without making any great tom-tomming or any amount of loud noise about his strength or his powers. As though to draw it to a close, one is reminded of the incident of his stepping into the Vrindavan on that fateful day in 1671, when, after having stepped in and the stone slabs were laid around and top of him, as the last stone slab was laid, his most favorite disciple, much loved, much wanted, by name Aparnacharya, who lived on the other banks of the Tunga, where Guru Raghavendra Swamy used to spend hours and hours, days and days with him in his company, in his house, in his Pathshala. When he, Aparnacharya, got to know of Guru Raghavendra Swamy having stepped into the Vrindavan, in a state of total bewilderment, he just dropped everything and ran as though a man affected, with tears flowing down his eyes, comes to the banks of the Tunga and sees a river in spate. It was as though nature was playing its own course. She was also in anguish that her favorite son would not be seen again in his living lifetime. And he prayed and asked for a way to cross. Such was his prayer, such was the power, such was the grace on his prayer, that Tunga parts for him and gives him a way across onto the other side of the river into Mantralayam, where Guru Raghavendra Swamy had just sat down and the last stone slab had been laid on him. He came running across the river. At that time he was uttering what came to his mind and which later on came to be known as Aparnacharya's Stotra, famously all over the world, and it is recited today globally by all his bhaktas and devotees. Such was the power, such was the grief, that though he continued to utter it at the last moment when he comes near the Vrindavan and falls prostrate before Guru Raghavendra Swamy, words fail to come out of his mouth to conclude the stotra, and it is at that time that a voice emanates from the Vrindavan, which is Sakshi Hayashotrahi. The equivalent of it in English, or the translation of it into English, is all that you have said is true, and Lord Sri Hayagriva is a witness to this. This was in the presence of the innumerable devotees who had thronged at the Vrindavan, near the Vrindavan, to see Guru Raghavendra Swamy stepping into the Vrindavan. All of them heard it, including Aparnacharya, and every one was taken back. The first miracle of Guru Raghavendra Swamy's life after stepping into the Vrindavan had been very beautifully shown, without a sense of pride, without a sense of one-upmanship, without a sense of feeling of ego or a feeling of I am supreme. Even there, it was attributed to the divine. Such being the case, such being the facts, such being the life, the principles that were lived by him, that were emanated by him, are bookmarks in our lives, to know that we need to lead our life as best and as much as possible on these principles which Guru Raghavendra Swamy lived his life, and even till his last moment prevailed upon people to make a change and lead such a life. To expect this is not much, but it's only a plea that if one does so willingly, voluntarily, with a desire to change, with a desire to make an impact, first the change has to come within oneself, and to do that one must be willing to surrender and accept the Supreme. Once you take that first step, the remaining will automatically flow and you will be guided along with it. These thoughts are such that probably amongst the many people that are viewing and seeing this, at least 1%, if it changes and affects in one way, on any one day, or every day, if at least 1% is affected, it's a huge achievement for mankind. A small step taken in the right direction. One can only say this, that Sri Guru Raghavendra Swamy continues to have an impact on the lives of people even today, regardless of where one is, how far one is from this land Bharat, and in what state one is. Om Shri Krishnaya Namah, Om Shri Raghavendraya Namah. Continuing from our previous edition, where the last point which we saw was, though I will not be with you in person, my presence will be in my works and my Vrindavan. Huge is the amount of the works written by Guru Raghavendra Swamy. Vast is His grace. It's an unending ocean of His grace that touches and has touched the multitudes of His devotees and followers and bhaktas and shishyas. The next point here is, as he says in his closing address, you can serve me best by listening to, studying, preserving and propagating my works. Now I take leave of you. My blessings to all of you. It is for us to take for our lives, in our lives, a leaf out of his entire life, or probably more than one leaf. Try and read some of his works. Definitely spread the word of his life, time, how he lived, all that he did, or whatever best we can remember from his lifetime, and share it with others so that they also get the benefit of such a beautiful soul who once walked this earth and now sits in the Vrindavan in Akhand Dirgha Japa. It is in this that we are able to study, preserve and propagate his works and continue to share it with generations to come by after us. In so doing, we would be rendering yeoman service to His Holiness Sri Guru Raghavendra Swamy of Mantralayam, the patron saint. A humble request and a prayer to each and every one is, instead of spreading gossip, jokes and unnecessary garbage through the various forms of social media, invest the same amount of time in sharing some anecdotes about Guru Raghavendra Swamy's life with one another. And see for yourself, experience for yourself, feel for yourself how beautiful the feeling is, how beautiful you sense, how wonderful it is, and how ecstatic you experience it in knowing that what you have done is allowed Sri Guru Raghavendra Swamy to come and touch you in his own way and bless you in his own way. With these words, the famous Ashtakshara Stotra comes back. Om Pujyaya Raghavendraya Satya Dharma Rathaya Cha Bhajatam Kalparukshaya Namatam Kamadenuve. Om Sri Krishnaya Namah. Om Sri Raghavendra Namah.